Mr. Dalton, according to our record, you're a second class offender. You're currently serving a 43-year sentence, well, 9 months and 20 days for armed robbery. You were actually on supervision and you were revoked. You had a parole eligibility date from last December 4th, 2024. Your adjusted good time date is 4/25/2039. You have a full term date 10/12/2048. Does that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, it's attempted armed robbery. I know sometimes it doesn't show up in the record.
And you would be Ms. Hutchinson, his attorney, and yes, thank you. It is attempted, and I do see that. Also, with Ms. Hutchinson, we have Mr. Kerry Myers with the Parole Project, who's in support today. We do have a victim who is here present and will speak to the appropriate. At this point, I would like to ask Warden Turner, do you have any information about this offender and anything that we need to know?
Yes, ma'am. He's done some good things for us since he's been here. We received him in 2019. He's remained right at free for the last 6 years. He's one of our certified mentors. He does a great job with that. He's earned a degree from Ashland, and he's also completed a big victim impact. So he's a very respectful young man. He's just a great.
Thank you for that input. I have identified everyone I have a record of. I do see individuals there in the room. Would they like to be identified as our speakers?
Madam Chairman, we'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves just for the record.
Dalton, and I'm his daughter. Krista Dalton, and I'm his wife. Priscilla Dalton, I'm his mother.
Thank you, Mary.
Madam Chairman, I believe one of them is speaking about the gentle lady in the middle.
Okay, great. Very much. Well, at this time, Ms. Hutchinson, would you like to reserve the last word?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll start off by asking you, Mr. Dalton, what it is that brought you to prison and why at this time do you think we should consider release?
I'm in prison for attempted armed robbery, December 3rd, 2004. While coming back from Baton Rouge into Zach, I saw Mr. Fur. I first recognized his truck, and we was headed in the same direction at the time. And when I saw the truck, it reminded me of someone that the girl I was dating during my previous incarceration had been in a relationship. We continued on our way, and we got to an intersection. He made a right, and towards that right, that was the way that she lived. When I recognized him, when he made the right, I followed behind him. He made a right into the neighborhood. I followed behind him. And he went down the street. Then I stopped and I called him. She didn't answer the phone. When later on, after riding, I finally caught up with him. One of the guys in the vehicle was like, somebody's throwing his hands up. I turned around and stopped.
Whoa. Pause right here. Did you catch that? The judge is not just apologizing. She's setting the stage to personally sanction the defense attorney by hitting him where it hurts, his wallet. In legal terms, that's contempt of court. And it's a serious question for you should lawyers who ghost their cases face fines or even suspension. Drop your take in the comments.
By Mrs. Brown at that time. Mrs. Brown was very respectful, very cordial. She was hospitable. And at that time, I could admit it, like, this was a misidentity. When I seen that vision, wasn't the guy who I thought he was. But I didn't want the guys who I was with to think I was, know the real reason why I was following.
So I became confrontational. I directed all my attention to Mr. Fur, and I jumped out the vehicle and asked him if he wanted to fight. He told me he didn't want to fight. He asked me why I was following him, and I denied that I was following him. He asked me what I wanted. I said I didn't want anything. We went back and forth, and I got mad. And I asked him, asked me that one more time. He did. I went to the vehicle and I pulled my gun. And I pointed my gun at him. And I asked him that one more time. And he did. And he said, you can have whatever you want. And I said, I want your truck. And he said the keys were in it. I walked towards his vehicle and I yelled back at the guys and I said, y'all gonna help me? They all just laughed. And at that time, Mrs. Brown started calling for her dad. And I just want to say I had no right to do that, put those young adults and the young man and that woman in that position. But after that, I left the scene, I got in my vehicle, and I drove off.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Since I've been incarcerated for 21 years, I've grown a lot. But I have to apologize for the fear, the impact, emotional harm that I caused Mr. Brown and Mrs. Fur that night. The impact I had on the families as well as their community. But I stand here before you as a different human being, a more mature human being. I come to terms that I didn't like the individual I was. So I had to do real self-assessment to understand, like, how could I ever put two innocent people in such a position? I had to change my way of thinking. I had to understand, like, how could I be a person that did such a shameful act? So I educated myself. I had to challenge my way of thinking because I was thinking irrationally. And then I had to think. I thought a lot about my daughter. Because at that time, my wife was 4 months pregnant. I didn't take into consideration.
And here comes the international witness. Someone was flown in from another country just for this hearing. The stakes, sky high, the drama, already boiling. Imagine the logistics and trauma involved here only to face potential delays. This is the kind of real-life legal mess that movies can't make up.
I didn't take into consideration my actions, not only towards them, but towards my victim.
okay, so you also had an attempted second-degree murder charge. Is that correct?
Especially after the fact, yes, ma'am.
But that's not what you were discussing. Or that is the attempted second-degree murder. Yeah.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. That was attempted robbery.
Okay. So what about the attempted second-degree murder?
The accessory after the fact, attempted accessory after the fact to
Accessory after the fact.
Accessory after the fact, second-degree murder. I'm sorry. After the crime had happened, there was a guy that shot someone, and I made a lie call. I made a 911 call, and I reported my car stolen to try to cover what had happened. I didn't want anything to do with that.
At this time, we'll allow Miss Dalton, your wife, wants to speak, and we'll let her have her say.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Dalton, and I am Murphy's wife. We've been married for 17 years, and I've known him for 28 years. And we have a 20-year-old daughter who's going into her third year at Southern University, majoring in nursing. And since Marquise has been in prison, he's taken full accountability of his actions that have led him there, and not taking lightly the victims that were involved in his reason for being incarcerated. And so again, he's grown tremendously in taking accountability, taking classes and courses that have been offered. He's taking counseling, mental health awareness courses, financial literacy, he's taking welding, therapy studies. He's also been enrolled in their acquisition and hazmat courses, and he also served as a GED tutor, and also is helping others to learn literacy program, others to learn how to read. He has been mentoring to help others to gain both academic and life skills. He's also become a spiritual leader. He is the imam here at the facility. He's a practicing Muslim. He serves as the imam at the facility. He leads prayer, offers guidance, and he helps others again with living within their faith and discipline. And through this institution, their mentor-mentee program, he also helps and supports the others in making better decisions and understanding real world consequences for their actions, and making sure that they understand how not to
Right.
They do leave, they don't come back and make the same mistakes.
Right.
Again, he's also maintained clean.
Oh, I thought you were finished.
He's maintained a clean disciplinary record since being here at Hunt, and he has basically maintained not just doing this to show, but actually his life and wanting to model and make sure that he's not just he is the person that he genuinely is the person that you see in front of you. He's not he lives the life of discipline, integrity, and responsibility, and ownership of his behavior and the consequences that they cause.
Yeah, we've read a lot of that. I appreciate those comments. I'm going to go ahead and go to Mr. Kerry Myers, Parole Project.
Good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project here to let this board know we have accepted Mr. Dalton as a client. And for the reasons I think you may have already seen, it's not just words that he's spoken to you today. He's held himself to a higher standard. He holds the people around him to a higher standard. He has a family that he also recognizes he has to have that higher standard. His programming, his disciplinary record have all been exceptional. Parole Project, because of his lengthy incarceration, is here to provide him with the transitional services that he needs. We are prepared to work with him for as long as necessary. Matter of fact, we actually plan to work with him an extended period of time to make sure he is ready to move back into society. When he completes our program, he is highly employable. Our employment team will work with him if needed, but he already has employment opportunities waiting for him. We understand that, the length of time his incarceration will have some particularly relevant things that he needs to learn in our program, and we are prepared to help him. He'll be evaluated by our social workers. He'll go through the programming. He'll understand what it takes technology, financial literacy, social norms, workplace protocols. Those are the things that we'll be able to offer him. But Mr. Dalton has done the hard work. What you see is before you is who he is, and we would just ask this board to consider those things in granting him his parole today.
Ms. Hutchinson, would you like to wrap up for Mr. Dalton?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, committee, for taking your time to hear us today. You've received a comprehensive parole package from me that introduces you to the marquis of today, the man that I've come to know and represent. So I don't plan on going through that package with you right now, but instead I'd like to maybe address some concerns I think the committee may have and what we've done with that. And so if I could, I'd like to describe Marquis's life in two distinct halves. The first half being the last 20 years and the other half being the 20 years prior to that. The first half, I'm sure you guys have documented in front of you in his record, that version of Marquis had arrests, misdemeanors, felonies, one court decision after another, none of which we're skirting around.
That ... was a verbal body slam. The judge just called out the entire defense office for what she sees as a pattern of disrespect, ghosting the court, failing to prep and leaving victims and defendants hanging. It's rare to hear this kind of judicial frustration voiced so openly. Have you ever seen a courtroom this tense?
Even the impending birth of his child, his daughter, like we talked about, didn't really deter him from the longing to fit in or masking his insecurities with this tough guy persona, seeking validation from people who ultimately didn't matter. And Marquis was failing. With the first charge that you brought up earlier, he did enter prison and do about 5 years on that term. But he didn't focus on rehabilitation or education. He merely did the time and was paroled. It's the difference between the first half 20, the second half 20. So again, he got out and he failed. He caused a great trauma and harm to those two young people in a way that even at the time of the crime, he failed to really even understand the magnitude of his crime. But the Marquis that's before you today, this Marquis of the last 20 years is quite different. And he's driven by two words: purpose and discipline. And I don't want to start with my own words. If you look in Exhibit 15 of my packet, you'll see a letter of appreciation from various deputy wardens, program directors, and warden of Elaine Hunt at the time that recognized Marquis as a person who has dedicated an extraordinary amount of time to helping others rehabilitate. In that letter, they called his mentorship a living testament to the value and hope that comes from true transformation. And this is the staff that sees Marquis every day. There's a 2024 recognition letter, character letter, again signed by institutional leaders that called Marquis the driving force behind the success of multiple rehabilitative efforts. And in the October 2024 letter from, I believe it was a social worker or counselor here, that talked about Marquis being a well-respected mentor and how he advocated for help introduce and help co-facilitate a program called Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By world, because he saw fit to have that class in the institution and he wanted to see it here. You'll also see in Exhibit 13 a letter from Mr. Grove, the Toastmasters, that talked about the same initiative that Marquis took to get a Toastmasters class chartered here. And Toastmasters for individuals is not just about making oral arguments. It's an instrument that can be used to help people articulate themselves and de-escalate situations with words, something that Marquis couldn't do. Those of you who are familiar with Marquis's sentencing transcripts can recall a young man that struggled to articulate himself and couldn't even explain to Judge Marabella at the time the root of the thing. Today he's educated and has programming and in leadership, and he's learned how to speak effectively. He can de-escalate conflicts and lead with emotional intelligence. He's been chosen by the institution to take part in public-facing programs like the Frederick Douglass Project. So he's been able to interact with legislators, citizens, church congregations, showing them what transformation looks like. Harry said it. I think the staff here have said it. Like, he has truly done the work. You have in front of you a thoughtful and intentional reentry plan, as Carrie stated. Marquise would be with us for as long as you all deem necessary, because he does want to gradually reintegrate with his family while he and reconnect. I think the board knows from your other hearings, like revocation hearings, that the transition from incarceration to cohabitation after decades apart can be difficult. And so Marquise understood that, and that's why both him and his wife wanted to go through counseling before they got back in the home together, so that there would be a healthy adjustment. And I think that also speaks to his maturity. As Carrie said, Mr. Lacey, whose letter is in Exhibit 13, offered Marquise an apprenticeship with HVAC and also LPP, and our letter provided two second chance employers within his area of expertise that he would be able to work in.
Nice.
If I could, just to close out, I do understand that the board has to also weigh the time served versus the sentencing. I would like the board to know that while Marquise has a 40-year sentence for the attempted robbery and a 10-year sentence for the possession of a firearm as a felon that ran concurrent, puts him right at about 50% of his time. However, Marquise has served 100% of the time that the state offered him to plea deal. So at the time of trial, the state felt that a 20-year sentence was sufficient for the crime that he committed. Marquise obviously decided to go to trial, and because of the habitual offender statute, he had an increase in his sentencing. But I do want the board to recognize that the state did believe that 20 years was enough for Marquise, and if we take that into consideration, he has completed 100% of that time. He is a mentor in RDAP and has passionately worked with other programs. I put in that packet an actual weekly schedule just to see how much work Marquise does within the prison system. We are prepared to accept with any conditions and guidelines that this board sees fit, and we just ask that you see the difference, the profound, demonstrated difference between Marquise of the past and Marquise today. Thank you.
We do all that information in our packet, 260 pages. So at this time, we're going to allow Ms. Jasmine Matthews an opportunity to speak to the panel. Just state your name and your relationship to the case.
So my name is Jasmine Matthews. I guess the accessory to the second-degree murders. After hearing everything that Marquise and his attorney spoke about, I don't have any, any ill intentions towards him. I know he was accessory to that murder, but at the end of the day, I do believe he has changed. I just want him to know that even though you wasn't the person who actually did it, it's still impacted. And I do have a lot of questions about everything. And I do understand that he has a daughter. At the end of the day, I'm a daughter who lost her dad at 3 years old. I can't get that back. But I do believe in second chances. I still want him to have that, that bond with his daughter that he missed out. So I do forgive him for being a part of that. And I think my understanding for that is just because I am civil justice, I am getting my master's in criminal justice, so I know the ins and outs of the system. So I do appreciate him even, acknowledging the fact that he told a lie and he owned up to it and he did the work of prison. So I can't fault him at that. I do have a question. If he is ready to come on today, I do want to speak with him if that is okay. And I do appreciate him, apologizing for what he's done and how he tries to make an impact in our community and things like that. So,
Jasmine, you've been very bright and gracious today. Thank you for being here. As far as the communication goes, I'm going to allow our victims group to moderate that decision. So, Hutchinson, you always do a very good job preparing. I would say that I really think the change started in 2017 for him. I think that's when he may have turned the curve in my review of his file, when he started getting serious about his programming. And so there is a lot to consider. Do my colleagues have any questions?
I do. First off, why did you come to hunt? Why did they send you to hunt?
I came to hunt from the police barracks. I had received a write-up for unauthorized visit.
All right.
Here's the judge laying down the law. Translation: we're done waiting. If the defense had issues, they should have said something sooner. One more legal insight: failing to notify the court about witness issues in time can undermine your entire defense strategy. Rookie move or something deeper going on?
Right. And visit. Okay. And just, I mean, I'm kind of like daughter said, I'm a little confused. You called in and said somebody stole your car. How was that an accessory? How were you trying to cover up or help out whoever committed the murder?
Because by me calling in that the car was stolen, and that I didn't admit what had happened. I didn't tell the truth. It was a lie. The car wasn't stolen. It was my car. You know, I mean, not being upfront with him, I contributed to him getting away, or trying to getting away, and not being accountable, I guess, for his actions. So I contributed to that. I lied.
Okay, and I do want to acknowledge you have done a lot. I'm looking at the report that was sent in by your attorney, and you've done a lot of classes since your other hearing, and appreciate you putting in the hard work. And once again, I also want to thank the victim for those brave words.
And Mr. Bonner.
I too have questions about that attempted second-degree murder, because I'm reading in the pre-parole investigation, it says that you were actually shooting. What really happened that day?
It goes to the day of the young man's trial. I had already received my sentence. My cousin had already received my sentence for accessory. The lawyers came in the bullpen. They came in the bullpen, and they was like, "You need to help him out." They said that I want to make sure I tell you the truth. They said they asked me to say that I had shot out the T-top. I said, "Sir, I didn't do that. I'm not going to say that. It was my cousin's friend." So my cousin said, well, I'll say it if it's okay with him. They was like, yeah, help him out. You know, y'all is not going to come back and hunt him. But I told him I would not say that. I'm not going to admit to something I didn't do. And so my cousin made that statement at trial. I did not shoot out those T-tops. And I just want to say I apologize for that victim. I apologize for that scene ever happened, not being responsible. Not because that was my call, and I should have been brave enough to say it. But I was passed out. That was my irresponsible. I wish I could have been more brave to stand up and say something. I was the coward in that situation, not being willing to stand up for what was right. And I apologize. For that.
You're telling me about what happened at the courthouse. What
Yes,
happened on the street? What did you know? What did you see? It was more than just reporting the car stolen. It says you were in the car.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
I ran across the guy on the airline highway. I followed him around a couple of times during the day. Go from that part. How did it all end up after that?
Oh, I apologize. Thank you, sir, for explaining that. Earlier that day, Earlier that day, we went to a gas station. Me and my cousin went to the gas station. That's when we found his friend and another guy. They was in another car. He went into the store and bought us something to drink. My cousin went to the store and bought us something to drink. They was acting like, where we going? Going to a club. They followed behind us, paused right there. They had got into it with him at the store. I stayed in the car. I don't know the transaction that happened between them in the store. We drove to the club, spent some time at the club. Later on that night, the guy that's driving the other car was like, I'm about to go home. I got to get up and work in the morning. Would you drop him off? He got in the car, rode around, drinking. I pass out in the front seat. I'm sleeping in the front seat.
And there it is, courtroom shutdown mode. The defense tries to save face, but the judge stops them cold. Why? Because hearsay, secondhand stories, and delay tactics don't fly in a courtroom that's already on edge. Let's be honest, Stu. You think this was mishandled, or was the judge right to snap? Let us know below.
Next thing I remember, they wake me up. He wakes me up and he tells me, man, I think I shot somebody. I'm like, what? See the scene? We're behind the mall, Louisiana. Mall. I forgot the name of the neighborhood. And we come to a place where you can't go forward, a barricade. We all get out and run. And that's when I go when I get to a resident, I make a phone call, reported the call. So,
All right, that fills in some gaps. Thank you.
Panel prepared to move. Okay, Mr. Dalton, my vote today is to grant parole to the Parole Project to follow their guidelines for the length of time that it takes to make you an acceptable risk for reentry in the home. And I don't have any additional conditions than the standard 21. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, it's going to be the same, but I'm requiring that you stay at the Parole Project a minimum of 1 year. I want him at that Parole Project learning what's going on. Him and his wife can work on their relationship. They hadn't been around each other for a long time. And if he ever wants to meet with the victim, then he can arrange that through our victim coordinator. So that's my vote today. I'm sure the Parole Project will do drug screens and stuff of that nature. So that's all my condition, that you stay there 1 year.
And Mr. Bowman.
I'm going to go ahead and concur with my colleague for the same reason.
Mr. Dalton, your request for parole has been granted. The conditions that you go to the Parole Project and have elevated